Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. This is Caron. I am your ATX Stampin' Lady, independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and I've been a Stampin' Up demonstrator for almost 9 years now. And you guys, I am excited to share with you this new fun fold tonight. So why don't you come on into the craft room, you guys, and join me as we create and share this triangle trifold card. I almost forgot for a second. All right, you guys, if you follow me on Facebook, you will have seen that I posted the materials in terms of the supply list that you will need for tonight. So I hope you had the opportunity to grab some. Hope you use the opportunity to grab some and come on in to join us in the craft room as we have a little play with learning the triangle trifold card. So I had a few minutes earlier today and I took a little play with it just to see how difficult it was. And here's what we're going to do, you guys. This is the triangle trifold card. Isn't that pretty? Sometimes we see all this fancy stuff and we say, wait a minute. But it is very easy, you guys. So come on in and let's take a look and see how we do it. So if you saw from the supply list, what you'll need is you'll need a piece of cardstock. For your card base, that is, we're going to start with 12 inches long, okay? So ultimately what we're going to need is for this to be 4 inches by 12 inches. Now I'm going to have to figure out a way, for me personally, to make this into a 5.5, a standard A2 size card. But for now, the instructions that I saw, that I got this technique from, was to utilize a 4 by 12 inch piece of designer series paper. So let's go ahead, let's get this trimmed down into 4 by 12. Okay, so if we go with a 4 by 12 piece, we should technically be able to create 3 cards from this one sheet of 12 by 12 cardstock. Okay, we're also going to need another piece, and I went with the petunia pop, and then we're going to need another piece of coordinating cardstock for matting. This one is Starry Sky. Starry Sky is retired, but I thought it went well with the paper and everything that I chose. And we're going to cut this. This is a matting layer, so we'll cut this as we need to. And then I'm using some of the 6x6 Meandering Meadows designer series paper for my project. So come on, let's go ahead, and the most important part is the fold. So let's get that part done and ready to go. So let's go ahead and trim our cardstock to 4 by 5.25. I'm sorry, 4 by 12. Okay. Let me make sure my track is clean because I don't want to get a make sure my track is clean here. And I should have done this before coming on camera, but I just looked at it just now and I'm like, no, this will probably shed my cardstock a little bit. So I just went ahead and I cleaned that out. And so let's just trim this to 4 by 12. So we're going to trim, I'm only going to trim one today. Alright? And so once this is trimmed to 4 by 12, we're going to score. And we're going to score at the 4 inch, and we're going to score at 8 inches, or we can just score at 4 on each end. Okay? Looking for my score tool. And then I'm just going to turn this and give myself another 4 inch score line on the 4 inch side. Alright, and so there we've got our 4 inches. Okay, so I'm not going to burnish them just yet. Actually, I probably should burnish them. Let's go ahead and burnish them for a little bit. And as always, when we burnish, we turn it towards the mountain. Make sure it's lined up. And then we're going to burnish that fold really nicely. Guys, don't forget today is free shipping with Stampin' Up. Every so often, Stampin' Up offers free shipping, and today is that day. If there's something you've been looking at, something you've been wanting, today would be the day to add it into your cart and avoid the shipping fee. Alright, so now that this is scored, what's important and critical in this particular fold is that we are going to score on the diagonal. And I mean score. Don't use make sure to keep your trimming blade out of the way. So we are going to score, and what's important is making sure that you score in the same direction on each piece. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to score right to left. Okay, so in order to do that, we're just going to make sure that we align the point, the score line, the tip of the score line, and the point in the track. Man, I did that fairly well. Right off the bat. Okay, and then I'm just going to go right on in with that score line. Make sure we have a very good score. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. Now remember, we want the same score line, and it has to be right to left. For this fold, okay, I'm going to try one, not today, but using the fold at the other, if they do opposite, and see what happens. Who knows, I might invent a new fold. Alright, here we go. I think that's all we're going to need the trimmer for, except when we're trimming down our matte layer, okay? Now we know that this was 4 inches by 12 inches, and we scored on 4 inches on each side. So this is 4, 4, and 4. So this is a 4 by 4 panel right here. So when we're matting on the inside, we're just going to reduce this by 1/4 of an inch. And that's how we're going to get what's going on the inside. So for now, let's just fold our score lines. As always, we score towards the, in this case, towards the valley. I'm sorry, towards the mountain. Make sure everything lines up again. As you can see, we've got our card base done. Look at that fold. All right, so that's what that is the bulk of tonight, you guys. So now we're gonna work on decorating our cards. So we know, let's get the inside done, and we're gonna need a piece of cards of our starry sky. I just had it. I don't know where I put. Oh, there we go. And we need a piece. This was 4 by 4. So we're gonna go down 1/4 of an inch, and I'm gonna need a piece that is 3 3/4 square. Okay. I'm gonna need 2 of those. 3 3/4. And we need 2 of them, one for the inside, because we are going to mat the inside as well. And there we go. Then I'm going to also need a piece of basic white for the inside, and that's going to be down less 1/4 of an inch, and so that's going to be 3.5 by 3.5. Do a little bit of stamping on the inside of our card. What stamp sets do I have readily available up here? Let's take a look and see. For somebody that always has stamp sets available on their desk, I seem to not be able to find my stamp sets, but here we go. This is Simply Said. So on the front, I think I'm going to say just a note, and I'm just going to say just a note. I'm thinking of you. Let's do that. Got my dirty mat on here. I kind of was doing a quick project this morning before I left for work, which is not necessarily a good thing sometimes, y'all. No. Alright, so we've got that. And we're just going to stamp Thinking of You right in the center of this card. I'm just going to do Petunia Pop. It's easier. Perfect. And Thinking of You. I love that this is very easy. It's a very quick card. Of course, on the inside of your card, you can do as much as you want to on the inside. As far as design is concerned, I'm just going to do, for the purpose of tonight's video, just something very simple. Put this on the inside, then we are done. I'm rethinking my designer series paper choice, and the only reason I'm rethinking it is because you've got to keep a good in your mind how it's going to lay out when you cut the designer series paper, because it is cut on a diagonal, and so you just have to keep that in mind when you're deciding, if I'm going to cut like this, if I cut it 3 3/4, where is this part going to end up? That kind of stuff. Okay, so let's see. see what can we use on this. We could probably use this. I'm thinking it out in my head. Okay. So if we cut this at 3 inches, right? When we cut in the diagonal, it'll go from here to here. Because we went right to left. Well, guys, it's just paper, so let's just go with it and see what we get, okay? Now, we went to 3.5, so I'm going to go 3 1/4. Oh, no, let's just do 3. That might be too small. Let's go 3 1/4. I'm going to do a 3 1/4 square. Again, we're going to line this up in the track, point to point. And cut. Alright, so do you see what I mean when I said you have to think about how these are going to play out? Do you see what happened here? You don't see that that's a sky scene anymore because of how these pieces laid out. So if we had cut them, it wouldn't have worked that way. So I don't like this, so that's not going to work for me. So let me take a minute, right, and I'm going to see if I can find another designer series paper that'll work just as well, but you don't have to have the same considerations as what we're having to think about now. Okay, so give me just a second. Let me go through my stash, see what I can find, and I'll be right with you. Give me 1 second. So I went into my my retired stash, and this was the feathered Flight and Airy. Sorry, Flight and Airy was the designer series paper. I still have to kind of figure this part out, because if we cut it this way and we cut it that way, so this is how I'm going to cut it. I'm going to use this piece right here. If we do the same thing here, cut it to 3 1/4 here. Let's try that. Let's try it. All we can do is try things, right? I'm cutting another 3 1/4 inch square. Cut it this way. think I've got it right there. So again, you kind of have to think this through if you're cutting directional paper, just to make sure that you have everything cut so that it'll present on the best angle possible, okay? And then we're going to do the same thing to this one. So if you're joining me, say hello. I would love to know who's joining me and who's watching. Let me know where you're watching from. If you are a returning stamper, thank you so much. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Glad you could join me here in the craft room. I've really got to change my blades. Alright, so again, when you're just deciding on your designer series paper, it's very important to pay attention to the direction of if you're using directional patterns, just to make sure that you cut it properly so that it makes sense when you are going to open your fold, okay? So this again is the triangle trifold. That's what this is called. I got little snaggles going on here. I saw this design. It was a technique that I was on Split Go Stampers every so often, and you should read that as very often. I do go to Split Go Stampers for some inspiration in terms of when I'm wanting to learn new things, new techniques, when I want to find new techniques. Oops. And this was one of them, and I just loved the fold. I thought it was pretty cute, and so I had to share it with you and show you how to create the card. Okay. So now that we've made sure that when we cut our designer series paper, it'll be in the right orientation. Do you see how it makes sense now? Okay. So again, when you are cutting your designer series paper for this fold, pay attention to the direction and to cut the card, or the designer series paper accordingly, okay? This guy on here. Who knows, one day this might be one of my mystery stamping my mystery stamping cards. Could you follow the steps? Alrighty. So here we have, this is the main part of the card, you guys. Yeah, my trimmer is horrible. This is atrocious. I have got to change out my blades, y'all. I'm going to definitely do that for the next time. Yeah. So you can leave this part unfinished as it is, or if you wanted to, you could go ahead and add a piece of designer series paper in here and add a piece in here, okay? I think I want to add a piece of designer series paper in there, okay? So let me grab another piece. And this time I'm going to use the reverse side. And we trim that to 3 1/4, so we're going to trim to 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. Now, let's think about this. Are we going to cut in the same direction? Right? Because if we cut it like this, perfect. Exactly. So everything is cut in the same direction as we scored. Okay. And then we're going to need a piece to mat. And I think this is 3 1/2. I did 3 1/4, so 3 1/2 by 3 3 3/4 by 3 1/2. So we're just going to trim this down to 3 1/2 and do the same thing. Trim that. So our mat on the inside is going to be a little bit off just because I was being lazy. Or maybe we could just say I was giving it a different design aesthetic, right? Not lazy, just a different design aesthetic. Yeah. I love my Stampin' Up trimmer. But let me tell you, I most times I prefer a guillotine trimmer. I don't have to deal with a lot of unclean edges. But these type of slide blade trimmers do have their, especially the Stampin' Up one, do have their many uses. All right. So let's get this all decorated and almost ready. All right, so the last thing we're going to end up doing after we do this part is we are going to stamp our focal image, die cut some stuff, I think. We might want to keep it very simple. I'm not sure yet. All right, there we go. No. No. Come on. I messed that up. I did. Ugh. And the glue set very quickly. That little minute that I had. All right. Again, just as a reminder, free shipping ends this evening. So if you are interested, or if you have a list that you were interested in, there were things items that you wanted to get on your list, free shipping ends today at Stampin' Up. If you are going to order, I would love it if you would order in my online store if you did not have a Stampin' Up demonstrator. The host code for me is listed in the description box. Please take a minute to check that out. When you shop in my online store and you place an order of $50 or more, you are entered into the monthly drawing to win a nice little prize. Sometimes I've given dies, I've given stamp sets, I've given designer series papers. It all depends on what my heart is talking about at the end of the month. Alright, so here we go. Alright, so you see how we have inside our decorated the inside of our card. So when you open, this is what you have. Oops. Pull, and that's our fancy card. Alright, so when we design on the outside, I'm going to try to, let's see, I'm going to use a circle, and I'm going to go with, this is the Stylish Shapes die set. This is available in the online store. I'm going to design a piece. I'm going to cut. That's going to come out of that. And then I need some white cardstock. All right. Let's bring in our mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I'm going to die cut these really quickly. So I do store my plates in some of these Stampin' Up old wood-bound cases. That's where I do. And I have several sets, so then I use one of the big ones and then the smaller ones to store plates. And it does hold the plates. Now the best tip that I have for you for using the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine is to offset your plates, okay? It seems to go through the machine a little bit easier. Okay, so we've die cut our matte layer. And now we're going to die cut our focal image layer. Okay. And again, the dies are from the Stylish Shapes die set. So you can actually store 3 of the plates, and I think you can actually do 4 of the plates in these the stamp cases, okay, for storage. I always have extras of those because I change my paper, and I put my paper on sleeves. My stamp sets, I'm sorry. I do have my stamp sets on sleeves. And so we're stamping just a note here. Excuse me, I do need to take a drink. diversifying ink. I'm gonna go with the purple one because we just seem to be in that purple frame of mind. And I'm gonna put this just a little bit off to the side. Heat emboss, heat set our sentiment. Okay. All right, and so the last thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and decorate this just a little bit more. So let me see if I have a single birdie. We're just going to attach our little birdie right there. We're going to put that one on some dimensional. So let's get this on here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a nice little belly band for this. Now you could do I've seen the other artist that I just saw with this design, this fold, she went and she added some ribbon, but I'm just gonna add a what's that thing called? A belly band around it. So when you take the belly band off, actually, I want the note to be on here. Okay, I'm gonna adjust fire on this one a little bit. So the thing we have to make sure that we pay attention to is where we're adding adhesive on this card, okay? And the reason I say that is because you don't want to make sure, you don't want to have an adhesive on the whole thing, because you'll keep it, you'll seal it shut. So we only want, if depending on how you want it, if you want your sentiment on that side or you want your sentiment on this side, depends on where you would put your adhesive, okay? So I'm gonna grab too wide, making sure it's not too wide. Yeah, it's a little too wide. And I'm just gonna lay this right here because I know this is about where I want my sentiment to be. Take off my top, my backing. And then once again, making sure that we cover everything. And there we go. Okay, now let's put our little birdie on. And put him right there. Put this guy right here. So, and then I'm gonna add, now I know I have some Velcro strips, so that's actually what I am gonna use, a little bit of Velcro strips. Yes, and that's how I'm going to keep this in place. Alright, so that's it, you guys. Let me put a gem or two on here, and I will show you that our card is complete. And of course, this will fit in a regular A2 size envelope, so you don't have to worry about that. Although, but you can also create a beautiful design, your own pattern paper to go ahead with this. So here you have it, you guys. This is our triple tri-fold card that we created tonight. I think it's a very simple card. It's very basic. Again, we start with a piece of cardstock that for now is 4 inches by 12 inches, and we score on the 4-inch and the 8-inch side, or you score on the 4-inch, flip it over and score on the 4-inch side. So either way, it's either 4 and 4 or 4 and 8. And then you the key is your diagonal, your score lines. Make sure that they go in the same direction every single time. You also cut your designer series paper and your matte layer. If you are going to mat it, you cut it in the same direction as well. Alright guys, thank you guys for joining me. It is 8:58. We spent a little bit less than an hour. Good job, Caron. And I hope you enjoyed the triple trifold card. If you do have the opportunity, you do decide to make this card, go ahead, pop on over into my Facebook event and go ahead and post what you've created. I would love to see what you have created with this technique. On that note, you guys, again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, to all my social medias, my Instagram, my TikTok, my Pinterest, and follow me. I would appreciate you showing that. On that note, you guys, have a good night and happy stamping.